are the old dark navy blues. We're the team that never lets you down. We're the only team old Carlton knows. With all the champions they like to send up, we'll keep our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous old dark blues.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Blue Sunday. My name is Joseph Luzza, and I'm coming to you from Phuket tonight, not Bangkok. And joining me back in Melbourne is former president of the Carltonians, life member of the Carlton Football Club, Big Vincenz, Vince Loccisano. How are you, Vince?
G'day, Joe. Maybe we should change that name tag at the bottom of your screen there to Phuket Joe instead of Bangkok Joe this week.
I probably should. I can do that if you want. I'll do that.
What brings you to Phuket instead of Bangkok tonight?
Well, we're starting a tour tonight, so I'm meeting my guests in just over an hour and a half.
Okay.
We'll be exploring Phuket, and then tomorrow we've got a beautiful boat ride looking at James Bond Island and all the islands in the Andaman Sea before we end up at one of the best rated beaches in the world. It's been voted in the top 3 in the last 10 years. So it's called Railay Beach. So people, come and have a look. Magnificent sunsets.
We'll have to call you tour guide Joe, number 007, licensed to thrill.
I don't know. Licensed to thrill, probably.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that gave us a thrill yesterday, mate, was the way Carlton played against GWS. How good was that?
And can I tell you something, Vince? You are copying it in the comments.
I'm sure I am. Yes, give it to me. Don't worry, I can take it.
Special commentator waiting in the background. So let's do the formalities and then let's get onto it. And Vince has disappeared. Now I've disappeared. I don't know what's happening. So as you know, this is a Facebook, YouTube show. It's probably me. So as you know, this is a Facebook, YouTube show. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm down on an island, so the internet's not that good. Have a look at Blue Sunday or at The Jumper Punch on Facebook and on YouTube at The Jumper Punch. Okay, so like, share, and subscribe. You'll be doing us a huge favour. Also, Vince, as I've just told you, I'm on a tour. So the show is proudly sponsored by my company, Retired Working for You Tours. I don't know if you can hear, but I've got a bit of a frog in my throat. I apologise. So, yeah, we do everything related to Thailand. So if you want to come and experience it, please have a look at our website. Send me an email. Lastly, but not least, Vince, this is a show for the people. So we encourage comments. You may not agree with what we have to say. We may not agree with what you have to say, but please feel free to make some comments. I'll put them up on the screen. Yep. I'll try and acknowledge you, but sometimes it's hard to cut off people. Okay. So Vince, who have we got waiting in the background?
Our expert commentator, Mr. David Rhys-Jones. Come on down.
That's a better introduction, much better. Hey?
There you go. A little bit of gusto. I'm taking off my best Sean Cosgrove impersonation. One of my good friends too, Sean. He's a fantastic man. So I just thought I'd take him off when he used to do the voiceovers on the Price is Right there, Reese. So thought I'd give you a big intro.
I thought you were just still a bit excited from yesterday, Vince.
It was an exciting game.
Fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic day.
It was terrific. It was not so much unexpected. I think a couple of us tipped Carlton to win, so it wasn't quite unexpected, but it was a great win. It was a well thought out win with the amount of players we have got out at the moment.
Some of our viewers have got very long memories. They've remembered that I tipped against us on the last show. So there's Lou Felino already reminding me of that. Thanks, Lou.
Well, we can never let you forget. We can never let you forget. Hey, before we get some comments, as you alluded.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of you and you're cutting out sometimes, Joe, so I'm not sure if your internet's out there, but I think you're asking me to go through the scores of the game.
I can't help it. As I told you, it's my internet. Here we go.
Okay, so what we saw is Carlton 17-15, 117 points, defeating the top of the ladder GWS Giants, or at least at the time they were. 15 goals, 898. So an excellent 19-point victory when, in fact, we'd gotten down by some 20-odd points there in the third quarter, and that was just before we went on a big blitz. So as you can see there, the quarter-by-quarter scores certainly pretty tight in the first half. Carlton going in with a one-goal lead at quarter time. 5-1 to 4-1, and then, of course, at halftime, the GWS had piled on 5 goals to only 2 in the second quarter. We'd kicked 6 points as well in that second quarter, so we did have opportunities but didn't make the most of them. So they went in 9-4, 58 to 7-7, 49 in front at halftime. That was a 9-point lead. And then they got a couple of goals. In fact, I think they got their first 3 goals. Their only 3 goals of the third quarter pretty early on. And then we went on a goal-scoring blitz and ended up in front at three-quarter time by 15 points, 14-10 to 12-7, and then increased that margin by another 4 points in the last quarter. They did look like they might have, made some sort of an effort to hit back, but I think... we steadied the ship and eventually got up to around 5 goals in front before they got a couple of late ones. So I don't think the result was ever in doubt, really. Going even halfway through that last quarter, I don't think you could foresee them scoring enough goals to hit back at us. So an excellent win. Certainly, silenced the critics from last week when we had a 16-point lead against Adelaide and let it slip in the last 5 or 6 minutes. So we certainly weren't going to let that happen this time, and it was a great win. I'll quickly, Joe, go through the goal kickers, or at least the main goal kickers from each side. You'll see there that in terms of goals, you've got Charlie Curnow with 3. In fact, he kicked 3 goals, 4. Mackay 3, DeConning 3, Durden 2, and Elijah Hollands got 2 as well. And then singles to Cottrell, Hollands, as in Ollie Hollands, Matthew Kennedy, and Matt Owie. So they were the goal kickers for the game.
Vince, have a look at the stats. Take us through.
Yes. Now, these are the 10 most critical stats for the game that really tell the story, and the ones which have the greatest differentiation between the two sides. So you can see there the bracketed figures are the total possessions next to those handballs. So you've got handballs, Carlton 192 handballs to 133 from GWS. So certainly turned the tables compared with last week's game style against Adelaide. So we tended to handball a lot more yesterday. That's from 381 possessions. So you can see that we had just as many hand passes as we had kicks, in fact, a little bit more. And handballs from GWS were a lot less. They had far more kicks. They had about 217 kicks and only 113 hand passes. So that just goes to show you the difference in the two sides and how they move the ball. Free kicks, we certainly had a very good run again from the umpires, 19 to 12. Contested possessions, again, we won the contested ball here, 151 to 117. One area that they certainly won in was the uncontested marks, 97 to 61. And again, that was because we were hand passing the ball a lot more and weren't kicking it as much to leading players. So that's probably the reason for that differentiation. Hit outs, geez, our ruckman did well. I thought Pitnet played a sensational game yesterday, probably one of the best, if not the best game I've ever seen him play. And DeConning was also fantastic. And not only did some good work in the ruck, but also kicked 3 goals. So 41 hit-outs to 28 from GWS. Clearances. Now, this is an area that we were very strong in, 48 to 32. So we certainly turned that around from last week. The clangers, they had a lot more, and I think that's probably due to the pressure that we were putting on them. Tackles inside 50. They had a lot more tackles in this game, so 68 tackles to 52. I'm not sure that there was any real difference in intensity in terms of tackling between the two sides. They probably had more tackling because they didn't have the ball as much as we did. So they had 19 tackles inside 50 compared to 9. And inside 50 efficiency, what you're seeing there is how many scoring shots compared to how many times the ball went inside 50. So we did better than them. We had 32 scoring shots from 54 entries inside 50. That's 59% when compared with GWS at only 23 scoring shots from 51 entries. And that gives them a percentage of only 45. So we certainly outshone them in that area. The one area that kept them in the game a bit was their scoring or shooting accuracy. They only had the 23 scoring shots to 32, but they went at 65% with their 15 goals, 8. Whereas we had just over 50% there, 53% to be exact, kicking 17 goals, 15. So they're the main statistics that we thought told the story. What did you make of any of those, Rhys? Anything there that I know you're not a stats man necessarily, but did you want to hone in on anything there that you think we did particularly well in or badly in or anything at all?
Where we won the game was the clearances, and that was in the middle of the ground from the first bounce, and we dominated in there. And I was a little bit critical of Paddy Cripps over the last couple of weeks, but he came to play and show what. He would have had a bit of sting in his tail after the last few weeks. I think he'd been down a little bit on form, and obviously fatherhood's probably had a little bit to do with that. But he came to play, and he was switched on, and it was fantastic. And Walshy in there as well was terrific. Hewitt, whoever was going through there, they just kept winning the ball. And you look at those tackling. I mean, listening on the television, early in the game, they were talking about, the Giants and the amount of tackles they'd had, and you were 100% right. That was because we had the ball. We were winning the contest and especially around those clearances, and that's where you're going to get tackled. So, but it was great to see Paddy Cripps back in Brownlow form again. He was just terrific. He was
awesome.
By far the best player on the ground, and really led by example, and we really needed that. So. Fantastic. And the big fella, Pitnet, in there. And one thing I've been talking about a little bit is those two ruckmen and getting them in there and seeing how it'll go, because I really think that, Tom de Koning, especially down forward, and he managed to kick a couple of goals. So, there was 8 between the three big fellas down there. And I've got to give credit to our small forwards too. They chipped in. Elijah Hollands kicked a couple, and Owies and Durden were busy down there. So overall, it was a pretty good effort, and it was a fantastic game to watch. I thought halfway through the second quarter that GWS were going to get on top and run away with it. But as we've shown, time and time again, over the last year and a half, I suppose, it would probably only be a year now, wouldn't it be 12 months? They really can come back and they don't give up. And that's a great attitude to have. And I just, congratulate the players. We've got 10 players who'd make our best 2022. So out at the moment. So out injured. So it's a magnificent effort to beat the top team. And onwards this week to Geelong, which is going to be...
who are the new top team. So we will play two top teams in succession.
Just keep knocking them off the top of the ladder, and we'll get there eventually.
Yep.
Yeah, overall, a terrific game. I mean, you just look both ends of the ground. Charlie was down early in the game and manages to bob up in a short. And that's what happens when you've got A-grade players in your team and genuine A-graders. They just they can go missing for a quarter and a bit. And obviously the opposition put a lot of work into your best players. So they're looking at ways of nullifying them, but they don't stay down for 100 minutes. They bounce back, and I thought it was putting Charlie into the back line in the last 5 minutes of that second quarter was a little bit crucial. He managed to get his hands on the ball a couple of times, and it just probably would have given him a little bit of confidence. And then, reinvigorate him at halftime. And we were under the pump, in those last 5 minutes too. The GWS were pressing pretty hard and scoring. And that's when we looked like we were in a bit of trouble. So, getting him amongst the play. I'd like to see him, and I think I've said this before, I'd like to see him up the ground and playing a bit like Jeremy Cameron up through that midfield and using his athleticism and marking ability and his football ability, his football smarts too. I think he, if we got to Conning and Harry Mackay back deep, and that even Harry pushing up to the wing at times and taking marks and swinging and getting the ball in quick. But it was a good effort, and it started right in the middle, and it started with our skipper, and that was the most important thing.
Was there anything that you weren't happy with, David? Was there something that you thought?
Yeah, well, I thought early in the game, I thought with the dominance we had in the clearances, and especially out of the centre bounce in the middle, and not being able to capitalise on that, that sort of worried me a bit for a while there. But they just kept persisting and kept probing, and eventually it all works out. You just got to keep at it, and things don't work all the time, but this team does keep going, and it's a credit to Michael Voss to the team he coaches, that they don't give up and they keep pushing on, and getting a result in the end is the important thing.
Now, David, you were hard at the ball when you played. What did you think of that incident with Toby Green where he, I suppose, ironed out Boyd? In your day, no one said anything. In your day, they just play on. But now,
well, he didn't put him on a stretcher, did he? So there was no fanfare there. But it's that's part and parcel of the game. I mean, but you can't take the physicality out of the game, and if you're going to have players now not going for the ball because they might hit someone in the head, then we're going to have a totally different game to the one I played, and that would be sad. That'd be a sad day when two players can't go for the ball and collide. I mean, obviously, usually someone comes off second best, and that's normally the person who doesn't look after himself. And the way I look at it is Toby had that last second turn to brace for contact, and that's what you do to protect yourself. So
it's a natural instinct, isn't it? Surely that's got to be a reflex action, doesn't it?
Well, you don't see a boxer leading with his head, keep putting his head out there and getting a whack, do you? So you get your guard up, and in our game is exactly that: turn and brace yourself. And the grand final last year, that sort of just about killed the bump. It's almost killed the bump, just about. It really has, and it's disappointing in some ways, but But if you're bumping someone because you're actually protecting your own body, because you can feel contact about to come, so your natural instinct is to brace yourself and protect your ribs and protect your chest and all that. Isn't that, reflex action? Surely you can use that as a defense. The one with Maynard last year was a little bit different in the fact that he jumped at a bloke.
Yeah, he was the aggressor.
He jumped at a bloke. He had his hands in the air and decided, instead of he could have put his hands out and pushed off Brayshaw. Yeah. He had the opportunity to do that. He decided to turn, bump. That was premeditated. So that's a different way. When two players are coming at the ball, as they were with Toby Green and when you come into the ball and Boyd on the weekend, one coming back with the ball, one coming at the ball, your eyes are on the ball, and at that last split second, you protect yourself, and that's even if you take the mark. Even if you take the mark, you still turn to protect yourself if you get there first. Otherwise, as I said, you're like a boxer leading with his head. You're asking for trouble. So,
But even if you've got your eyes on the ball, you can often detect that there's another player coming towards you, can't you? You can either hear him or see him out of the corner of your eye. So, of course, you're going to protect yourself. I don't personally think Toby Green did anything wrong at all yesterday.
No, and thankfully both got up and played on the contest. So getting a week for that, is a bit stiff.
But it's spoiled by media these days, Rhys. I mean, the media's already talking like, he'll probably get a week for that. He's
already been offered a week, Vince.
Well, he's
already been offered a week. That just goes to show you just how pathetic this game has become.
Well, that's what I mean. That's and Toby Green is one of those players who is going to get looked at more harshly than others, and unfortunately, that's what happens.
Bit like what happened to you.
Well, you do. You go for some. I was reported 25 times, and only 25, but I was only found guilty 11 of those. So I was guilty 25 times, but I was only found guilty 11.
Better than 50%.
It depends how you look at it, though. I mean, you go in there and plead your case, and like the bloke last week, you get off.
Well, Hogan's been offered a week for that smack on Lewis Young too, behind the play.
Oh, really? I didn't. That swatting flies, wasn't he? It was bloody. I think he had a fly on his street. He was swatting off. There was nothing in that either. I know the AFL don't want to see that type of stuff, but I think a fine is more in line with if they don't want to see it, fine him. Hit him in the hip pocket. Hit him hard in the hip pocket if you want. They've got plenty of money. I mean, hit him hard in the pocket, and they'll stop doing that sort of stuff. But there was nothing in that either.
Yes, Wayne Montgomery. Woke commentators are destroying the game. They're not the only ones that are woke. Most of the ones that are the wokest of all are people that work down in Docklands called the AFL. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, the problem with that is the AFL come down hard on the commentators if they say what they really feel.
Yes,
they get basically called in. I mean, you can lose your job commentating if you're not woke and you're not coming and saying the AFL line. You will lose your job. You won't be around in AFL media.
You know one guy I reckon who lost his job because of that? He was a former Carlton player, and he used to commentate for Channel 7, and he often used to say exactly what he thought of umpiring decisions or, certain players and, what they did or what they didn't do, and it was Ian Robertson. And shout out to Robbo too if he's watching. But, I have no doubt that they replaced him because of that sort of honest commentating about what he saw.
Yeah, well, it's the way it is now. I mean, they're a protected species. You're not allowed to say certain things. So, it's the AFL's way or the highway, and plenty are on the highway because of that. Well,
it's an industry, isn't it? And a lot of these commentators are probably protecting their own careers by not saying what they really think as much as anything else.
They end up starting to believe it, though. That's the problem. They start believing what they're being fed. Instead of thinking for themselves, they're being fed the lines, and they'll keep producing what they're told. And it's only because of their back pocket. That's the only reason they're saying it, to put money in their back pocket.
Do you think most of those ones are the non-playing commentators, as in they've never actually played the game? Or do you think even some of the past players that are commentating on the game are not quite being honest about what they're saying?
Yeah, definitely. All of them. But it'd be, there'd be an instruction from the top, and they would be told in no uncertain terms that this is, the AFL want this week. This is what we've got to say, and toe the line, or see you later.
Yep.
Anyway, back to the game, Vince. What were your thoughts on yesterday's victory that you didn't predict?
Well, I was going to say I found it to be a really entertaining game of football. I mean, it's good to see scores like 117 to 98. It's great to see over 200 points scored in a game. I think that sort of satisfies most of the crowd. I thought we dominated out of the middle early and didn't really have an advantage that reflected that at quarter time. I thought, geez, we're only a goal in front for all of our dominance. They seem to have defended quite well, and they managed to halt us on quite a number of occasions down in that full forward line, and then transition the ball back to their own forward line. And so as much as, Cripps and Walsh and guys like that just continually pumped the ball forward, we weren't necessarily getting as much score as I thought we might. Even though 5 goals is a pretty good tally for quarter time, I thought it was the sort of quarter where we could easily have piled on maybe 8 or 9. Such was our dominance. But then they turned it around in that second quarter, and they seemed to be more clean than us when they went forward, and they had a lot of uncontested possession and a lot of uncontested marks as a result. And they seem to have our measure to some degree. I just knew that the game was going to have some momentum changes as we were watching it, and that momentum change came in that third quarter. Just when you thought, oh my goodness, it looks like we might lose this, we got 20 points down. All of a sudden, we just flicked the switch, and that's what it felt like. We flicked the switch, and we went into that mode, and as soon as we got a couple of goals in a row, and then the crowd started to lift and get noisy, then it became 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, and it was like GWS just had no answers to the tsunami that was coming their way. So I think at one stage they were 12 goals to 7, yeah. I think it was. And then we kicked like the next 9 goals in succession. And I think it got to 16 goals to 12 before they finally got one back in that last quarter. And then they got a couple of late ones. So, look, I thought we had their measure once that blitz of goals had occurred. I had no doubt that we were going to win that game. And even though there was another quarter to go, it just felt like, no, they're not coming back from this. And and that's what happened. And I think a lot of our best players had very, very good games. Great to see the combination of Pitnet and De Koning working, which doesn't always happen. In fact, it has rarely happened, to be frank. But it certainly worked yesterday. And I thought our back line held up reasonably well, even in the absence of guys like McGovern and Sard. And then when Williams went off, etc., I thought a lot of our second string defenders did pretty well yesterday. So
I was going to say, sorry, Vince.
No, that was about it.
No, I was also going to say, I think yesterday a lot of the lesser known players had a good game, like Boyd, Cowan, Kennedy.
Yeah, he came in and did well. Yep.
Yeah, Durden, Owies. I mean, they all did their part, and that's what you need.
Yep. And look, even though Lewis Young didn't have a lot of the ball, I think he still did his job down there. And he might not keep that spot in the team when when some of those other players that we mentioned come back, like McGovern, etc. But you need those fill-in players. That's what we mean by list depth, is that you can bring players like that in and they'll play a role. They may not be world beaters. You might even drop them again in 2 or 3 weeks' time when the other guys come back from injury, but at least they're still there to do a job. And by and large, a lot of the players that were in the side yesterday that are not in our best 23, I think they did pretty well.
Yeah. Hey, David.
And the important thing, if you're not considered in the best 23 at the start of the year, you're going to make sure you are one of those players at the end of the season. I mean, that's the real. A goal for them. They need to make sure that, when they do get their opportunities, I'm not getting out of this team, and that's and make it hard for the selectors to put them out. And look, Lewis Young had a few goals kicked on him yesterday, but thought he did well. I thought Kemp was very good back there. I thought he did a very good job. Kennedy, who went back there as well, he's proven to be a real bit of a switch hitter. He can play
spare parts man.
Well, he can come out and take marks and kick goals. We've seen him do that at times and go back and but the back line was terrific. And Weeders leading back there, and I thought Newman was also very important. He gets back and he annoys the opposition. He gets under their skin a bit, and I like that. I think you've got to have a bloke on your back, man, who really gets under the skin of the opposition. And you can see it time and time again. And you're thinking, what's he said or what's he done? Because they keep going at him, keep them on their toes.
But one of the few backmen that I think had a fairly ordinary game, to be honest. And it's 2 weeks in a row now, because I thought last week he absolutely had his pants pulled down. Jacob Wiedering. I mean, when he came back from injury, he had a couple of fantastic games, but in the last couple of weeks, I don't know, he hasn't done all that much. And Tex Walker last week led him a merry dance pretty much for the whole game. I didn't think he had the best of games yesterday, though. What did you think?
Oh, look, I think he's the general back there. He positions what's happening back there, and he's very important.
We know he's important.
Look, it's great when he's getting back there and taking the marks and doing those sort of things. But playing on the back line when a midfield is last week, when they're streaming through and you got nowhere to go out there. It's bloody tough. So I'll give him a little bit of leeway there, and he's a general. He probably places the players. You go on him or whatever, and where they've got to move to and where they've got to position themselves, and that's his role out there, and he does it very, very well week in, week out.
We had a question, Rhys. Sorry.
Yeah,
there you go.
Paul. There.
Yep.
Paul
Hello, Paul, by the way. Big cheerio to Paul.
Vince, this is not your Cheerio show. All right?
I've got a couple more coming up shortly.
No. Paul says, I feel teams get easy goals from our turnovers. What do you think, Rhys?
Well, I think if you watch any team, once a ball's turned over, because they're all going one way. But footy's different now. It's different than how it was played and how we thought about playing, years ago. It's running and filling up space, and it's really when you've got the ball, it is full on attack. And I don't think teams get any easier turnovers than what we get or any other team gets. It's just the nature of the game these days, and turnovers are such a huge part of it now. And if you can turn the ball over because that team they're in attacking mode and they're going forward, they can get caught out the back, and they haven't got the defenders back there to. So that's the reason that it looks bad at the moment. And it looks like, they just carved this up straight through the middle. But the way the game's played these days, that's what causes that.
Can I give you a stat at halftime that I noticed on the scoreboard that came up? Out of GWS's 9 goals, 458 to halftime, 8 goals, 2, which is 50 of that 58, came from turnovers. So we were turning the ball over badly, and they were scoring almost at ease every time we turned the ball over. So they obviously addressed it a bit in the second half, but that's got to be a cause for concern for Michael Voss, you'd have thought.
Yeah, and they'll definitely look at that, because you can't have it all duck and no dinners type thing either. You really got to have one or the other and be able to get back and have your defenders being able to get back there. So the game and the ball moves pretty quickly. So the defensive side of it is very, very important. But that's the modern game, and that's if you're going to take risks, and you've got to take risks to win. Then you're going to get caught with your pants down every now and then.
Geez, I tell you what, that second half, the pressure meter from Carlton must have gone through the roof, because as far as I could tell, that was about the one major thing that caused that blitz of goals. Did you identify anything else that just flicked the switch the way it did?
I think we were able to control the ball when we had it in our hands. We were a lot smarter at the way we're going forward. We're able to lower our eyes and find targets inside 50, and they were able to kick the goals. That was the most important thing. They were able to put them through the middle instead of missing them. And Charlie was a perfect example of that. I just think we played the sort of football that's going to win you premierships, and that is the important thing. And that's what they've got to look back on, that that period of time, and that's what can win you premierships. You need to be able to produce that type of football, and we're able to do it at the moment.
Okay, let's get to the votes. David?
Yes, Cripper, he was outstanding, and I've been critical of him the previous couple of weeks, and he put his Superman outfit on, and he was from the start. He was just going to have an influence on that game, and the young fella Green, he's a monster. He's probably been the best player in the competition up until the weekend, and Paddy Cripps took the mantle off him, so that's fantastic. Sam Walsh, what a 2 weeks coming back from injury. I mean, you could have excused him to have an easier week, pull up a bit sore and just not be quite right, and you can come back first up from a spell, and it's like a racehorse sort of thing. They come back and win first up from a spell, and the second one they're always a little bit suspect. But so he gets me 2 votes, and Nick Newman, he gets the 1 vote, just not only for his play, but for his ability to get under the skin of the opposition, and I think that's important. I like a bit of niggle out there, and he must give it. So good on him. He gets a vote.
Okay, Vince,
and he played well too.
Yeah.
Of course. Yes, well, without elaborating too much, again, Patrick Cripps, fantastic game, clearly best on the ground. Sam Walsh, clear second. Again, just like you said, amazing performance in the second week, let alone what he did in the first week, back from injury. What would we do without those 2 guys in the middle of the ground? It makes me wonder what we would do. But then again, I guess if you take the 2 best midfielders out of any team, they'd probably suffer. And Tom De Koning, I thought he did really well to adjust from being the main ruckman to being a roaming forward and sort of a centre-half forward out there. And I thought he did very well. He also contributed with the hit-outs, getting 16 hit-outs, but also kicking 3 goals up there. And I thought he had a real impact on the game. And I guess apologies to his rucking partner in Mark Pitnet, who I thought, could very well have warranted a vote yesterday based on how he played. And also Matthew Kennedy, who played a great game in his 100th.
Yeah. Well, I thought Walsh was probably more consistent over the 4 quarters. But, I mean, you could have – maybe we should give them each 2.5 votes each because they played quite well. I actually thought George Hewitt played well, but I've got to agree there's 1 Wayne Montgomery, 3 Cripps, 2 Walsh, and 1 take your pick. We had a lot of good players. The one, like
there was it was the hardest thing to choose, really, the 1 voter, because there were so many who could have got it, and
you split your 1 vote between 10 people. 10 players.
It's a great sign.
That's good. So our leaderboard: Patrick Cripps on 25, closely followed by Harry McKay. Sam Walsh has only played 2 games in his 3rd. And then we've got Jacob Wiedering and Tom De Koning. And now...
So Cripps has actually taken the lead off Harry McKay this week. He's finally surged to the front. Harry was in front up until now.
The cream is rising to the top.
Exactly.
And now it's time for David's Spirit of Carlton. So just let me play this.
Yep.
And it goes
to Matthew Kennedy. Not because of his 100th game. I thought he was very important, and being flexible enough to be able to get into that back line and do a good job there. He took some really good marks, some strong marks back there, and put his body on the line for the team. And congratulations to Matthew on 100 games, but it was one out of the box as well. And his versatility is going to be well needed, and that could be the reason he stays in the team when our players do come back, that we can play him anywhere. So good on him, and he gets the award this week.
Remember, guys, two years ago he was nearly delisted, wasn't he? Rookie listed or something?
Yeah, they rookie listed him. Yeah, they technically delisted him and then recruited him back onto the rookie list. Yeah.
I think they had to delist a certain amount of players, but you are taking a risk when you do that, because another team can.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and it wouldn't be a great position to be in, one, being that bloke who is delisted sort of thing, and full credit to him. He's had to bounce back.
Yes. Okay, so Vince, what's on next week?
Another big one. Geelong.
Another top team.
Another team who's now taken the mantle of top of the ladder team. Geelong, unbeaten, the only side now that's unbeaten in 6 games. They went up to the Gabba and did what both Carlton and Collingwood have done this year. Can you believe that they've been beaten 3 times up there at the Gabba this year? In fact, I think that's all three games that they've played at the Gabba this year, isn't it? I don't think they've won one yet, Brisbane. Anyway, so Geelong, again, 4:35 p.m, just for something different. I think this is our 5th game in a row at 4:35. So it's at the MCG. It'll be a big blockbuster. You can just imagine this game becoming an 80,000 person game, I reckon. What do you reckon, attendance-wise? Will it get to 80,000?
Yeah, I think it'll get up over 70. Yeah, the Cats are on fire. It's their home game, and
it's Anzac Day long weekend sort of thing as well, because Anzac Day's on Thursday, which is a public holiday. You can just imagine that this being a big, long round of football starting from Wednesday night all the way through till Sunday. So,
yeah,
lots of games spread out.
It's a blockbuster, isn't it? Really, it is. Two of the best,
it is the biggest one.
Competitions, informed teams in the competition at the moment, and it's good to see Tom Stewart won't be there too. So he'll
another stroke of luck for Carlton.
So, you take that luck and run with it. I think Tui will come back in his place, but so they don't lose too much there. But it's going to be a great game. It's going to be another great game, and this. At the MCG, I think hopefully the weather's good and our boys can shine and really show that they can play big game football on the big stage, and that's what it is. Big in front of big crowds. This is the warm up stuff you do for your finals. This is what it's all about. You get out there in front of quality opposition, playing in front of big crowds and it makes you ready come September.
Well, if you remember last time we played, exactly. By the way, I just mentioned quickly, the last time we played Geelong was in round 2, I think it was last year. If it wasn't round 2, it might have been round 3. But we happened to knock them off by about 8 points, I think it was, at the MCG, and our first win over them for quite a while. So we do tend to play better against them at the MCG than we do when we play them at Marvel Stadium. So I think this year we play them twice, in fact, at the MCG. When it's our home game later on in the year, it'll be a Friday night blockbuster as well. So this will be a twilight one on a Saturday afternoon. So Geelong's home game. So we've got to get out there and support the boys.
And if I remember well, it was Jeremy Cameron who almost single-handedly destroyed us last year. He was absolutely unstoppable, and he is a great player. So it'll be interesting to see how we play him, because he's get up the ground a bit. I think Weeders will take Tom Hawkins, and it'll be interesting to see whether Kemp or one of these guys is going to go with Jeremy Cameron, because he is a great player.
He's a star.
Hopefully the ball doesn't get down there, though. That's going to be the.
It'll get down there at some point. Don't worry about that.
Okay, Joe, predictions? Am I going first again?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to tip Carlton by 3 goals.
Carlton by 18 points. All right. Rhys?
Yeah, I'll go Carlton by a little bit more than that. I think without Stewart in their back line, we could really tear them apart there. So 6 goals, 36 points.
Oh,
for me, Carlton.
Wow.
36.
And we know that you're going for Geelong, Vince, so there's no point asking you.
Again, look, this is not because I want Geelong to win. It's not because of anything else. I want Carlton to win. Don't get me wrong. I couldn't give a rat's about footy tipping. But if I'm going to try and catch up on you blokes, I've got to try with some sort of team that has a half a chance of beating us. So I'll go for the Cats by 5 points. There you go.
Vince, this
Jeremy Cameron's number.
This relates to you.
No faith, Vince. All right, no worries. It's got nothing. No, I want us to win. Don't get me wrong, Wayne. I'm just doing it to try and catch up on these blokes. I'm starting to fall behind.
So, David, let's just have a look at the tipping ladder.
It'll probably only make things worse for me, won't it?
So, David and I are starting to streak away from Big Vincenz, but he's going to try and catch us this week. But he hasn't got the leg speed.
Well, if I'm right in my prediction, at least I'll be level with Rhys and only one behind you. But if I happen to lose it, I'll be really bringing up the rear. And don't worry, I'll still be a very happy Carlton supporter.
Disgusting.
And by the way, just on the subject of bringing up the rear, I just wanted to say, bad luck, Rhys. I know that there was a little pony by the name of the Priestess on the weekend at Melton Trots, running in a big race that happened to miss the start badly or galloped or whatever, and tailed out badly to last. But geez, what a run to come home and finish in about 6th, I think it was, 5th or 6th. Huge run.
Yeah, massive run, but you don't jump with them. Yeah, that's where you end up. And
that's it.
A little bit disappointing, that one, but it was.
Don't worry, I'm sure there'll be plenty of victories based on what that horse can do.
I'd one eye on the trots and one eye on the footy. The television's gone everywhere. So I was out at Melton and watching it out there, so it would have been a good win. But she galloped at the start again.
Oh well, they do gallop, those trotters.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Anyway, good luck with it. Good luck with it.
The time has come to say goodbye to David. David, give it a plug. Prader-Willi Foundation.
Yeah. Well, obviously we're coming up. We'll have our major fundraiser in the month of May, the Prader-Willi Syndrome Association of Victoria, and anyone who can hit their pockets then be much appreciated. Going to a good cause that not many people know too much about Prader-Willi syndrome, and my son Cooper, who was pictured there with me, he lives with it 24/7. So it's pretty complicated disorder, but if we can get anyone to help us out during the month of May, it'd be fantastic. So we'll have everything organised. Yeah, thank you.
Well, as a matter of fact, not this Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, the 30th of April, you can look forward to seeing the great man himself, David Rhys-Jones, live in the studio with the boys from the Jumper Punch. I believe that's all been confirmed, Rhys, hasn't it? Please tell me yes.
What's the date of that again?
Yeah, Tuesday the 30th, and that's on the eve of the month of May, which is the month that we do all of the fundraising for the charity. So that'll be a fun night. I'm sure the boys will bring up plenty of highlights from your career and have a few laughs and go over the most recent match that we'll have played against Geelong and preview the big game coming up against Collingwood the following week.
I'm looking forward to it. Just give me the details on where I need to go, Vince, and I'll be...
Yeah, don't worry about that. Do you know where the northern suburbs are of Melbourne? I don't know if you've ever been there.
Yeah, I can't go much further north than Doreen. That's right.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah. That's good, mate. No worries. It won't take you that long to get to Reservoir.
No.
All right, then.
All right.
So, David, once again, David, thank you very much.
No worries. Thanks, guys, and go the Mighty Blues.
Go the Blues.
Yep, go Blues.
Oops, I cut him out. Sorry about that, David. Vince, I don't know if you've noticed, my internet stops. So if I'm quiet,
I'll just keep talking.
Yes.
That shouldn't be too hard for me. Yep.
Hey, Vince, there were some games played this weekend. Let's go through them.
There were indeed, Joe. And it all started on Thursday night where, gee whiz, I didn't see this coming, but maybe some people did. The Western Bulldogs, isn't it amazing when a football club is under the pump and the media is really getting stuck into them like they did with the Western Bulldogs and I guess specifically their coach, Luke Beveridge, how they come out and show everyone what they're really made of. And that's what they did against St Kilda. 19 goals, 10, 124, and even 10-goal victory over St Kilda, 9 goals, 10, 64, and absolutely tore them apart. So they're back in the 8 and deservedly so.
Tore them a new one. Okay, and the next game, Vince? Very controversial. Controversial.
Geez, I tell you what, you can almost feel sorry for the Adelaide supporters. I said almost. But I tell you what, robbed again. You know, the AFL comes out the next day and says, yeah, should have been paid holding the ball, but that doesn't change the result, does it? It just goes to confirm what my thoughts have always been, and that is that this game needs to get up with the rest of the sports in today's world, where they do give, whether it's players or teams or captains, an opportunity to challenge a particular umpiring decision, especially one that can change a game like that one. But it's good enough for cricket, it's good enough for tennis, it's good enough for soccer with the VAR system. Well, it should be good enough for AFL football, but yet again, the AFL turns its eye to it and says, oh, well, yeah, it was a mistake, but bad luck. Essendon 10-18-78, defeated Adelaide 11-9-75, and what can I say? Typical.
Next,
robbed again, Adelaide. Okay, well, here's a game that was, flipped on its head at some stage during the game, a little bit like our game against GWS. At one stage in that second quarter, Port Adelaide got up to a huge lead. But Collingwood turned it all around and ended up scoring 17 goals, 21, 38 scoring shots, 123 to comprehensively beat Port Adelaide, 12 goals, 981. And, once that tide turned, Port Adelaide had no answers in turning it back around again. Collingwood looks like they've shaken off the Premiership hangover and are now starting to play very good football again.
Okay, and up in Queensland in treacherous conditions?
Yes, well, again, as we said, this is the third loss in a row for the Brisbane Lions up at the Gabba. Geelong handled the conditions far better, far more professionally. If you have a look at their quarter-by-quarter scores, they're almost exactly, goals and points are almost exactly the same. I think 4-4 at half-time, 6-6 at three-quarter time, and finished with 9-9, 63, to defeat the Brisbane Lions, who were horribly inaccurate and goalless in the last quarter. 4 goals, 13-37. And I reckon there's got to be big question marks now on whether Brisbane can actually make the 8.
Yeah, anyway.
Okay.
In a big shock.
Well, might have been a big shock to some, but I'll tell you what, the way West Coast have been playing in recent times, I know they won last week, but even the week before that, they played a lot better up in Adelaide in gather round. So, they are a very proud club and they love playing Fremantle, and they've got the wood on them in terms of these Western derbies are concerned. And they've added another victory to their list over Fremantle, 16 goals, 9, 105 to defeat Fremantle, who you would have thought had their chance to turn around their results over the last couple of weeks, where they scored 9, 63 in both matches. Well, they got 18 scoring shots again. This time it was 10 goals, 8, 68. Unbelievable. But they just can't seem to get more than 9 or 10 goals a game, and no more than 18 scoring shots. You're not going to win too many games of football scoring in the 60s.
Yeah. And today, Vince,
Today, we had the Sydney Swans have a big win at home, coming off, of course, a rest the previous week. 17 goals 110, comprehensively defeating the Gold Coast Suns, who have generally had a pretty good record over there in Sydney against the Swans. But this time they went under 8 goals, 9, 57 by 53 points.
And the last game, someone's finally broken their duck.
Yes, they have, Joe. Hawthorn in the cellar dwellers duel of this afternoon. Second last playing last. Hawthorn 17 goals, 11, 113. Really were never in doubt after half time. They had a very big second quarter in this game. Defeating North Melbourne 10 goals, 8, 68 to leave them as the only side in the competition not to win a game after 6 rounds, and are now bringing up the rear and holding up the rest of the ladder in 18th position.
Let's look at the ladder, Vince.
Yep, let's look at it. So we've got only one team that's without a defeat and only one team without a win. So we've got Geelong at the top, 24 points. That's all 6 games having been victories, with the highest percentage of all the teams as well, 141.3. Sydney, GWS and Carlton are all in the top 4 with 5 wins from 6 matches, all separated on percentage. Then we've got a further 3 teams that are all on 4 wins and 2 losses, nicely entrenched there in the 8. Port Adelaide, Melbourne, who had a bye this week, and Essendon, who had that very fortunate victory over in Adelaide. They're all on 16 points, separated by percentage. You'll note Essendon's extremely poor percentage, considering they've won 4 out of their 6 games, of 92.7. So when they win, it's generally a very narrow win. When they lose, they get comprehensively beaten. The Western Bulldogs, for all of that media attention, are actually in the 8 with 3 from 6 on percentage from outside the 8. Fremantle, Collingwood and Gold Coast also on 3 wins from 6 matches, a 50% strike rate. Collingwood and Gold Coast percentage are in the 90s, so they've got a bit of work to do on that. Then you've got 3 more teams on 2 wins, being Brisbane, St Kilda, who, when you look at their form, St Kilda could easily have had 4 wins if it wasn't for a couple of very, very narrow losses. Brisbane, St Kilda and West Coast now with 2 wins, the last 2 matches. They're well and truly off the bottom of the ladder. And then you've got 3 more teams with only the 1 win, Adelaide, Richmond and Hawthorn, and all 3 of those sides, you'd almost say right now, not looking good for top 8 chances after 6 rounds. And, of course, North Melbourne, as we said earlier, the only winless team. And after 6 rounds, Joe, we finally have a ladder that we can take seriously, because everyone has played the same amount of games after 6 rounds. But don't worry, give it another 6 rounds and they'll start having buys all over again, and it'll probably take till about round 15 before we get to a normal ladder again.
Vince, it's now time for Vince's verdict. Who are you picking on today, Vince?
Order in the court. Who am I picking on today? Well, I hate to be boring, but I'm having a go at the AFL again, because I just think they have seriously lost the plot. They really have lost the plot. I don't know who's running that show down there, but I don't know where to start, Joe. I mean, even goals that are scored these days, the enjoyment of scoring goals is being taken away from the crowd, because, what seems to be an obvious goal, hang on, let's go and do a score review. And, goal umpires have lost the art of making decisions. Field umpires can't bounce it anymore. And then, of course, you've got the sham with the MRO and of course, the tribunal itself. The decision to allow Charlie Cameron to get off his suspension based on good character, I mean, honestly. And, of course, the good character reference came from who? Who do you think?
I don't know.
Eddie Betts.
The AFL? Oh,
so, what do you think's going on there? I mean, really? Why should that be brought into account when it comes to judging actions based on what's happened on the field? Where does good character come into it? It's not like he had a good, clean record anyway. Charlie Cameron had been previously found guilty and fined, I think, 5 or 6 times. So it's not like a player who's played 300 games and never been reported before or never been suspended before. This is a player who'd been found guilty of certain offences that may not have been penalised by suspension, but certainly fines because he was found guilty. And yet they still took this into account in letting him off a suspension. I just think it's just different rules for different people. If you're a star of the game, they won't even look at certain incidents for fear that maybe it'll suspend this player because he's in the running for the Brownlow medal. And I just think it's shambolic what's happening with our game. They're doing everything they can to put people off it. And honestly, if that's what they're trying to achieve, they're doing a damn good job of it. So I just think that something needs to change. And the fact that games like the Adelaide Essendon game, yet again, last few seconds, obvious free kick, umpire doesn't pay it. See, even the umpires, you can't tell me that umpire wasn't thinking, hang on, we're in the last few seconds of the game, or there might only be a minute left. He shunned at making a decision. And, who are we getting to umpire the game like that? I mean, really? There should be an option for captains to say, right, I want that decision reviewed upstairs, and a panel of 3 have to come to a decision. It's either a free kick or it's not a free kick. And if 2 out of 3 say, no, that should be holding the ball, well, then it should be paid holding the ball. And they should have had a shot for goal.
I'd say that I don't agree. It's going to slow the game down.
I don't care. What matters most is the right decision. You know what I hope happens this year, Joe? I'll tell you what I hope happens. I hope it happens because the AFL deserve to have this happen to them for the way they're running the game. I hope this year's grand final, whoever's in it, I don't care whether it's Carlton or not, I hope that the winner of that grand final wins it on the basis of a situation exactly like that. Okay? And then they'll have their tail between their legs because they're so stubborn, so not prepared to admit that they've got it wrong, that this is what they deserve. They deserve a result where a team ends up winning a flag by default and they shouldn't have won it. That's what they deserve. Anyway, that's my verdict for the week. If you agree, let me know. If you disagree, happy to let you have your say on the comments. I'm just sick of it, Joe. It's just so pathetic. It's turning me off the game. And I'm telling you what, I'm not the only one. All right, that's the verdict for this week. It looks like Joe's frozen there on me, so I'll have to keep it going. I think it's time to bring up next week's shows. If Joe, you're not going to come back to us, Joe? No, Joe looks like he's totally frozen out there. So I'll do my best to let you know what's happening on the Jumper Punch channel this week, everyone. I'll do this from memory. Now, don't forget, on Tuesday night, we've got the big Jumper Punch show itself with Rocco, Mars, and Paul Sebastiani. And, of course, they've got, I think, Enzo Valentino coming on, the member of the Jumper Punch channel who happened to have his name read out as the lucky winner for that particular prize. So, Enzo, have a great time on Tuesday night on the show. And, of course, Wednesday we have Forever Rivals, which I believe is going to be a live show this week at about 8 p.m. with the 4 different teams represented, Carlton, Collingwood, Essendon and Richmond. Of course, Rocco represents Carlton. You've got Mark representing Essendon, Manny representing Collingwood and Quinn representing Richmond. It's a great show, so make sure you tune in. It looks like all the boys are going into the studio live on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. Then I'll let you take over, Joe. You're back with us?
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm
That's
on
all right.
a little island. So, you've got.
Now I forgot to mention rocking all over the burbs. Oh, here we go. Start again.
Just start again. Forever Rivals has now been moved to Monday, 8 p.m. because of Anzac Day.
Oh, right. Is that what's changed it this week?
On Wednesday night.
Right, of course. Yes, sorry.
So,
well, I did my best. So now you're back on. You can correct what I did.
Yeah. So that is going to be live from.
It's on Monday. Wow.
Yeah. Well, because Anzac Day's on
Thursday.
There's a game on Wednesday night. So Monday night at 8 p.m. you've got Forever Rivals live. Tuesday you've got the Jumper Punch live at 7 p.m. Wednesday midday you've got Rockin' All Over the Burbs. Thursday you've got the Change Room with Rash live at 5:30. Friday midday you got Double, and then on Sunday you've got the Jewel in the Crown, Vince, Joe, and Reese.
Yes.
Hey, one thing we forgot to mention, Vince, was you're losing bets.
Yes. Well, we lost already on picking St Kilda to win for starters, so that bet was over with by Thursday night.
Yeah.
But I think we also got, hang on, just go back to that.
No, Vince, I've got to go soon. So
sorry. All right, well, anyway, all right, fine. We had 2 or 3 legs that didn't come off there.
No, so just go through the legs of this week.
All right, so this week we're going for Melbourne to beat Richmond, Collingwood to beat Essendon in the Anzac Day blockbuster, Port Adelaide to win at home against St Kilda, Adelaide to beat, I don't know where you put the word lost there for, we haven't played these games yet, Adelaide to beat North Melbourne, so you had to pick up your mistake, there it is.
Yeah.
Adelaide to beat North Melbourne, even though it's being played in Melbourne, Gold Coast to win at home over West Coast, and Sydney to beat Hawthorn. So they're all pretty short odds, but when you multiply them all up together, you get about $4.25. So we're going to put $10 back on that and hopefully get our tally back over $100 again, Joe.
Yes, I did those on the plane, so I don't think I had time to check it.
Just quick 10 seconds, quick 10, 15 seconds.
Quick.
They come up to P and said hello. So quick shout out to Zach and Charlie. Good to meet you guys the other day, and hope you're enjoying the show. And also to Ben, a policeman, by the way, so I won't give you his surname, and his wife Alicia that I met as well at the footy. So shout out to all of them. Hope you enjoyed the show.
Okay. So that takes us to the end of the show. I've had a lot of internet problems, so I'm sorry I lost you totally just then, but
I gathered.
It was only for a minute. I could hear you, but my screen was hanging.
That's all right.
Don't forget, at Blue Sunday, at the Jumper Punch on Facebook, and at the Jumper Punch on YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe. That'd be great if you could spread the word. So, Vince, until next week, it is a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from you.
And
a goodbye from me. Go Blues!
We are the Navy Blues. We are the old dark Navy Blues. We're the team that never lets you down. We're the only team old Carlton knows. With all the champions they like to send up, we'll keep our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous